Hey guys, I've been living in Colombia for 3 years now, and let me tell you, despite all the negative publicity that this country gets sometimes in the media, Colombia definitely does many things well, and many things even better than whatever country you're from. And that's what I'm going to be covering in this video. I'm going to be covering 5 habits or 5 cultural nuances that Colombia has and Colombians do that if we took back to whatever country we're from, our countries would be that much better. So with that said, let's dive into it. So if you've ever been to Medellin and you've been inside an elevator, whenever you're in the elevator and someone else comes in, they're always going to greet you. They're always going to say, ¿Cómo estás? Hola, ¿qué más? They're going to greet you when they get in, and they're going to say goodbye to you when they leave. Always hasta luego, que te vaya bien, which means hope you go well, enjoy your day, things like that. They're always going to tell you something. It's almost never that someone just comes in and they just have their head down and they're just hoping that you don't notice them so they don't have to talk to someone else. So I know that the US, that can happen as well. Usually not saying hi and bye to people whenever you see them. In Australia, that's never happening. And the worst country that I've ever seen this is in Sweden. When I was living in Sweden for a while, people are so scared that when they walk past each other, they just have their head down. They're doing everything they can to avoid human contact and avoid talking to other people. That is one thing that I absolutely love about Medellin and Colombia, and I think that the rest of the world, we can all learn from them as well. Just the way that they acknowledge that there's another human in the presence, and they just have that community vibe of, hey, we're all in this together. I think this is really, really evident, and I might be drawing comparisons here, but if you look at the suicide rate, right, of Colombia versus some of the countries we live in, for example, the US. I'm just looking at some figures here. In US, the number of suicides is 14.5 per 100,000. In Colombia, it's only 3.7 per 100,000. In the US, you're 4 times more likely to end your own life than in Colombia. There's many studies that have been done that say that one of the biggest causes of suicide amongst people is loneliness, right? And you don't feel lonely here because even if you live by yourself and you walk around and stuff, people are saying hi to you, how you going, and goodbye all the time. So you at least feel welcome. You at least feel like you're part of something bigger. Whereas in the US or in other countries, you can live by yourself and you basically don't talk to anyone the whole day. That can really bring you down. You can feel lonely, and unfortunately, in some instances, it can really result in really sad things like suicide. And I think that's why the suicide rate in some of these countries is so high. Anyway, sorry I went to a little bit of a dark place there, but I had to go there to explain this point because I truly believe that. But anyway, let's go to somewhere happier. And it's kind of on that same point of greeting people and things like that. But in Colombia and in Medellin where I live, people, their willingness to make new friends is on a whole new level. Right? If you're over 30, where you're from, how easy is it to make new friends? Probably not that easy, right? The friends that you have when you're like 25 is probably the friends that you have for your whole life. In Medellin, it's completely different. People are very willing to talk to you, have long conversations with you, and they're going to be really intrigued by you because you're a foreigner. You get a lot of friends for the pure fact that they will want to speak to you and learn about where you're from. Let me give you an example of something that happened just last week, right? So guys, I love to play tennis, and in a tournament last week in the first round, I got absolutely destroyed. It was a dark day. I was not happy. I almost kind of just wanted to leave and get out of there because I was so embarrassed, right? But he came up to me and he's like, hey, you should do this, you should do this. You're a really good player, but if you did this and this and this, you would be so much better. So practice that. And also if you want to practice together, I'm a freelancer too. I have a lot of free time. Here's my number. Let's meet up and practice. So he went out of his way to make that connection, which is pretty rare, especially where I'm from. You'll never see that in Australia. My point being is people are so much more willing to make new friends here. And I think that's something the rest of us in other parts of the world can also learn from and also use to make our countries better. By the way, if you're interested in visiting Medellin, then check the link in the description. I have a free travel guide there for you that I put together myself. Number 3 on this list is taking pride in your appearance. This is a huge one. Where I'm from in Australia, basically everywhere you can go with shorts and flip-flops optional. You can even be barefoot. I've been in McDonald's and guys have been there with no shoes and no one even batted an eyelid. I've been in the US as well. I see people in pajamas with hair flying everywhere at the supermarket. Like, you will not see that in Colombia, and that's solely because the Colombian culture is really centered around looking good and taking pride in your appearance. And I think that's a good thing. By the way, we have 2 more on this list, all right? Things that we can take from Colombia, habits that they have here or cultural aspects that can make our countries better as well, right? But if I miss something, make sure you leave it in the comments. We love to talk shit about weird stuff that Colombians do, but let's give them some credit. They really do some stuff awesome. So if you have something to share, then just drop it in the comments. But let me get to number 4 on the list, right? The culture of not drinking in excess. The facts say that in majority of people, they do not. They don't have this binge drinking culture like we do in Australia when it's, 10 beers a night is a quiet night. And even in the US, they have this college, games and fraternities and getting destroyed and passing out, and that's funny. They don't have that here. They don't have that in Colombia. And that's evidenced by the facts, right? I found the amount of liters consumed by each country every year. The US, it's 9.8 liters per year per person. UK, 11.4 liters. And in Australia, it's 10.6 liters, right? So obviously in Australia and UK, we're more of alcoholics than you guys in the US, but we're all about that 10 liters mark, right? In Colombia, substantially less. Only 5.8 liters a year, 40% less than the US, right? So why is that? I think it's because they go to a bar to have, 1 or 2 drinks and then dance salsa, dance bachata, talk to their friends, right? My girlfriend said it as well. Well, my wife, actually, I haven't gotten used to that yet. But my wife said in a previous video, she found it so weird when she lived in the US. She lived and worked in the US for 5 years. But when she was over there, her university friends were like, hey, let's go to a bar. And she's like, all right, let's go, ready for some dancing today. And she got to the bar and all the Americans are just sitting at the table, just drink after drink after drink, just getting destroyed. And she's like, when are we dancing? Where's the dance floor? No one's doing anything. Whenever she used to go out here in Medellin, it was like, as I said, 1 or 2 drinks and then the rest of the night, dancing, 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 dancing. Our countries would be much better if we actually went out to socialize and talk to people and feel a sense of a community rather than just drink 1,000 beers, forget all our problems, and pretend that they're going to go away and we're going to be happy the next day, because that never works. And the 5th one on the list that I think Colombians do brilliantly and we should steal from them and incorporate it into our own countries more is that they place a lot of importance on physical activity. If you go to any of these outdoor parks, many of them have little outdoor gyms, right? Because maybe people don't have money for a gym membership, but they want their population to stay healthy. So they always have some pull-up bars and stuff. So everyone has access to physical fitness. Also, what they have is they have in the major cities on Sunday and public holidays, they'll shut down the main street and that'll just be for people cycling, running, walking. So it's kind of a social thing. It's a community thing and it's promoting physical fitness. I love that. I love the fact that they go out of their way to do this stuff to keep their population healthy. In Australia, we're pretty good, right? We're not the unhealthiest people, but I'm looking at you people from the US. You could learn a lot from Colombia in this regard. Now that we've talked up how good Colombians are, if you want to jump in on how weird they are and see some weird things that they do, then just click this video because it's pretty funny, trust me.